Hello, fantabulous souls. Welcome to Psychically Speaking, where we discuss all things body, mind, spirit related. I'm your host, Psychic Lisa Ann. As a professional psychic medium and healer, I have been assisting people for over 27 years. I'm so excited to have you join me on this journey called life as we share, learn, and grow together. So let's jump right in. Why are we here? It's a question I've asked myself so many times. Sometimes I would ask myself, why are we here? As this deep dive into the spiritual world. Other times I'd ask myself, why am I here? Because there'd be some crazy thing going on that just made no sense to me. But I have to be honest with you, I never really thought that I would get an answer to why are we here. But a couple of years ago, I had just finished doing a reading for a client. This client was going through an extremely difficult time in their life. And most of the time, I am really able to keep myself disconnected from situations so that I can be the best reader possible. But every now and again, there's situations that just so get to your heart. And after that client leaves, you just need a moment to just kind of pull it all together, allow the tears to flow, because at the end of the day, we are all human. This was definitely one of those situations. After the client left, I just went back into my healing room, sat at my table, just had myself a good little cry, and just went, why are we here? Now, everybody has a different belief system. Some people believe in God, angels, guides, loved ones, soul connections, your inner wisdom, your inner child, your inner voice. So, whatever that is for you, you can kind of insert that into this. But I work with angels, guides, sometimes loved ones who have passed give me messages. And I actually do believe in God. I was actually raised Catholic, which some people find very shocking. So as I sat there asking the question, I felt my guides and angels around me. And what they explained to me forever changed my life and the way that I look at things. What was explained to me is that wherever you believe we're from, heaven, another dimension, another planet, again, I honor everybody's right to have their own belief system. But wherever you believe we come from, it was explained to me that in that space, there is no such thing as good and bad. And I needed to understand that because when I asked, why are we here? The answer was very simple. The answer was to have experiences. Now, throughout my spiritual life, I guess you can call it, I've heard many, many times that our souls come down here and it's like a school for learning. And I'm sure you guys have all heard that too. But the way that it was explained to me this time was so different than anything else I had ever heard. And when they continued explaining that we come down here simply to have experiences, they also went on to tell me that in that space where we come from, there's no good and bad. It's only in this realm, on this earth, in this human experience, that we judge things as good and bad. And as I sat there thinking about that, I thought about all the things that happened in my life that I still to this day put in the horrible column, things that I would never want to have to go through again. And I thought about how much time I spent in those moments thinking about what was I being punished for? What was I doing wrong? Why was this happening to me? And when I looked at it from that perspective of what if it was just an experience? What if it wasn't about a punishment or something that I was doing wrong? Now, I have to tell you, and this is where I get in trouble a lot, I, with every cell in my being, believe that we do choose to come down here. And I've thought for a very long time, and I've believed for a very long time, that we do choose the experiences we wish to have. I just could never understand why I chose some of them, quite frankly. So some of them I'm still trying to figure that out. But in that moment, everything just changed for me because I no longer had to go into what I jokingly call the mind loop, trying to figure out why these things were happening. I could just simply look at them as experiences. And then from that point forward, I could put them into the category of an experience I would love to have again or an experience I really don't ever want to have again. And that was so freeing. It gave me the power, the courage, the strength, and the wisdom to move forward beyond those not so great experiences. Now, I know when I talk about this topic, people always get a little bent out of shape because they're like, why would I pick this life? Why would I choose this experience? I would never choose this experience. And again, sometimes in this earth realm, as I like to call it, we're not going to have all the answers. Sometimes it's not until I believe that we cross over that we really can connect every single dot. But for me, one of the things that really hit me when I received this message that we're here to just have experiences and that it's not about good and bad, I thought back to my car accident. And for those of you who have read my book, No Phones in Heaven, you're probably familiar with the story about my car accident. And it's very interesting because obviously it was something that was very traumatic and it definitely falls into the experiences I never wish to have again. And for those of you who haven't read it, it's in my No Phones in Heaven book and it's called, I got something in my throat, Grandma Jenny Saves the Day. And I believe it's also on my website under my blogs as well. But when I had that accident, I shared a lot of the story about what happened as far as my grandmother being at the scene of the accident. My grandmother had already passed and all the messages of that day. But what I really never talked about a lot was the anger and the resentment I had after that accident. So on October 9th of 1998, which by the way, side note, in preparing for this podcast, I realized the date in my book has been wrong all of this time. So I'm going to have to do a little editing. So October 9th of 1998, I was run off the road by a drunk driver who then fled the scene. And I had my two children in the car. They were very young at the time. And I'm not going to go into the whole story because it's in the book and it's on the website. But I was so angry. Back then, I was doing meditation classes, I was doing reading, I was doing healing work, but I can't even explain in words where or how deep this anger that I felt was. I was so mad that here I was trying to do all the right things. Here I was giving messages to people I didn't even know. And where was my message to not get in the car and drive that day? Where was my message to be careful? There's going to be some crazy driver on the road. And I'll be very honest with you, that accident, we were very lucky. Nobody was injured. Thank God nobody died. But the toll it took on me mentally and emotionally was a whole nother story. And as a result, I had a lot of stomach issues after that accident, which honestly worked out to serve me in a very great way because I quit reading because I was angry. I quit doing classes because I was angry. I quit doing healing work because I was angry. And I never told anybody that I was angry because I just used my stomach issues. Oh, I'm too sick to work. Oh, I'm too this, I'm too that. And everybody just went, okay, and accepted it. A couple of months later, I think it was the end of January, maybe the beginning of February, a friend of mine called me up and she was going to this mass with this woman who gave messages. And this particular woman, she gave messages as if it was God speaking to you. I don't know why I went because it was probably the only thing I had gone to since the accident, but I decided to go. And when we got there, it was in this huge church, like 1,000 people in this church from literally all over the world. Okay. And I sit down, and this woman sits down in front of me. And as she sits down in front of me, I'm getting this whole message that I need to give to her. And I'm listening to it. And I just say to my guides, I already told you I'm never reading again, so leave me alone. Yes, I was that angry. The woman who was holding the event the night, the messenger person, she comes over, she goes right to the person in front of me and word for word gives her the exact message they gave to me. And there I am sitting there like, I don't know what your point is. I told you I'm not reading, right? Now she comes to my row and I go to back up to let her pass me. And she stops and she asked you if she could give you a message. I said yes. And I will never forget, she looked me dead in the eye. And remember, she's giving you the message as if it's God speaking to you. And she said to me, I know you're very angry at me. I know you're very angry at me. But very soon you are going to understand why all these bad things that have happened to you have happened. And you are going to be able to look back on your life and understand each and every one of them. And then she said something about me having work to do and I needed to get back to what I was doing. And I honestly remember nothing else after that because I was hysterical crying. And I remember when she was done, I looked at my friend standing next to me. And when I hope you remember, and I was going to say, remember what she said, and she was hysterical crying. So when we left to come home, it was an hour away and it was dead silence in the car. And as crazy as this sounds, all I could think of was how I had stole a message from somebody else. Yes, my car accident was very traumatic, but like I said, it could have been so much worse. It was more the anger that I had at God at that point for like allowing this to happen to me. And as we're driving home, I was thinking about the people in that room that were sick, the people that had lost loved ones, all of these people that I felt they needed a message so much more than I did. And I thought to myself in that moment, if I don't do something with this message, I wasted a message and I took it from somebody else. And it was that moment that I decided I was going to quit what I was doing. I was working part time doing something else. And I was going to get back to doing the work that I loved. And I was going to make it official and I was going to open Spirit Quest. And in March of 1999, I got my DBA as Spirit Quest and never looked back. And it's interesting because before that time, the minute I started doing readings and meditation and healing work, I knew in my soul, this is what I wanted to do. And notice the word I'm using, not I was supposed to do, what I wanted to do. It was the thing that resonated with me. But up until that point, I always said, well, when my kids get older, well, when I have more money, well, when I'm older. I had a million and one excuses of why I couldn't do it in that moment. And when I had that accident, I realized that none of us, not even all these professional psychic people, know when your time is up. And I thought to myself, I don't want to wait for some other time down the road. I want to do it now. So moving forward, do I want to have bad experiences? Absolutely not. But ever since I got the message that day of why we are here, I have constantly tried to remember the message of that day. And when I'm going through difficult times, I remind myself that they're just experiences and that I will get through them. And I challenge everyone listening to this podcast today to think about those moments in life, those moments that you're going through, and to stop labeling them as good and bad, and instead look at them as just experiences. And when they're good experiences and ones that you want to have more of, focus on them. And when they're experiences that you don't need to have again, just move on from them. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it's answered some of the questions of why we're here. And just like most of our topics, there's so much more that we'll be diving into with this topic in the future. But for now, I want you to take some time to think about the different experiences that you've had. And I want you to remember that you are here simply to have experiences. Thanks again for joining me. Be sure to share and subscribe to this podcast. For more information on my work or the Spirit Quest Body, Mind, Spirit Spa and Gift Shop located in North Carolina, be sure to visit spiritquestnc.com. And remember, life isn't always rainbows and butterflies, so each and every day, make the choice to be fantabulous.